just as much time to do it like this. You got notes in it.
We're not in this book. This one's new. This is all the new stuff.
Yeah.
I don't read things.
I can see.
John, you didn't go
There
too
you are.
far, did you?
That's going to be a
John, you didn't
want me
go
to raise
too far,
yours too?
did you?
I know.
No, it's not detached. Well, we'll find out here in a few minutes.
It is 7 o'clock. We do have a quorum. We'll call the city council meeting to order. First items on the agenda are the invocation given by Councilman Watts and the pledge to the American and Texas flags by myself.
Would you please join me in prayer? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day that you've given to each of us. We thank you for all the blessings that you bestow upon us. We ask your forgiveness when we take so many of those blessings for granted. We are extremely blessed people. Probably to live in this nation at this point in time is probably the greatest blessing that anyone could ask for. I ask on behalf of those of us serving on the council and in all levels of government that you bless us with wisdom, give us guidance, humility, and courage to serve the people that we've been elected to serve. We ask that you protect those who protect us, our policemen, our firemen, our soldiers. We ask you to forgive us when we fail you. Ask all of this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We do have a proclamation scheduled to be given tonight. However, it's going to be postponed to next week because the people could not be here tonight. So the next time is Visitor Citizens Forum. At this time, any person with business before the council not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the council. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. I do have a card filled out by Kimberly McQuarrie.
Mayor and Councilman, I'm Kimberly McCary. I live at 331 West Walters in Louisville, and I'd like to speak on liquor sales at the Western Days or any city event. I don't believe that alcohol should be sold. It's sponsored by any event that's sponsored by the city, especially not Western Days. When y'all are trying to get back to the flavor of Old Town Louisville, I don't think we ever sold alcohol down here anytime that I'm aware of, and I don't think that that should be something new that we should add to Old Town if you're trying to preserve the Old Town character. In addition, I don't think it's appropriate that 5 of you formed a subcommittee, leaving out Councilman Garena, wherein y'all decided that we should spend $15,000 to purchase alcohol, and the way that you designed that was so that you could also have a sponsor, that being Budweiser. I think the chief could use that $15,000. I think it's on the agenda for Saturday that you're going to cut some fire department and city expenses, and I think that money could have been better spent for our citizens. Thank you.
City Manager, would you address the $15,000 issue, please, sir?
In what sense do you want me to address it?
The fact that it's not an expense that we're going to be getting.
The funds are from the local government corporation, and they're going to advance funds that will then be reimbursed by the sale of alcohol, beer specifically, by the way. It's not liquor, wine, or anything like that. It's strictly beer. We have sold beer numerous times in the past in Old Town events, Western Day as well as other events. We've done so under agreements with third parties. The only really difference here is that we're purchasing the beer ourselves to maximize any profit that can be allocated back to the event in the future, and that's where the funds will be allocated toward once they're the LGC is paid back. What else was
So
there?
if I understand correctly, there is no expense to the city whatsoever, that the $15,000 is an upfront that will be repaid plus money that will be in turn reinvested back into the Western Week in the future.
Right.
Great.
Mayor?
And this was a decision that was made by the entire council, by the way, back at the retreat to go this direction. The LGC is really just a vehicle to get that council direction accomplished.
Right, the LGC was formed, I believe, 2 years ago.
So that wasn't a separate committee that was just formed for this decision?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Mayor, if I may?
Sure.
Just want to let the citizens know that, though I appreciate Mrs. McCary noticing that, I did not ask her to come up and speak to do that, but she did that on her own. But she did ask me a couple of questions out in the hall, and I did not know the answer to, and I had her ask assistant city manager and stuff. Just to let the citizens know that I kind of feel her sentiment that the city is, buying alcohol. I'm not in favor of that, and I wouldn't have been. However, I do have another question that Ms. McCary asked me out in the hallway, and I thought she might have asked that question. Where did the initial money come from for the corporation?
Funds for the corporation accrued from lease bonuses that generated from a lease of a property that we control at Lake Park.
That the city controlled?
The city controlled.
Then shouldn't that money come to the city
The
coffers?
city allocated those rights to the LGC when it was formed.
Okay, I
And
wasn't
then
on the
the-
council then, but that's...
No, but you were on the council, and you were in favor of alcohol sales at the Western Week during the workshop, which was held in February.
No, sir, I wasn't. I just didn't want to argue with you then. I still don't want to
Well,
argue with
sir,
you now.
you're on tape and on record for being in favor of it.
I never said. I just kept...
And why, a question, why wouldn't Councilman Green own the local government?
There's only 5 members on the local government corporation board, and there's always been one party of one kind or another from the council that's not been on it.
Okay, thank you.
I think at one time Lathan wasn't on it.
Exactly. I wasn't on it. I think
Something that the city council could do also. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, next person we have is Steve Southwell.
My name is Steve Southwell. I live at 995 Downey in Louisville. A few weeks ago here in this chamber, we had a nice little dog and pony show. It was put on by a couple of representatives from local natural gas operators. In the 10 minutes that each of these non-citizen, non-taxpayers were given, plus the softball follow-up, these representatives were happy to butter you up with nice, warm, fuzzy feelings. They talked about how responsible they are and how they would never pollute. They just didn't want you to make it a law to actually do what they said they were already doing. Now, one of them gave a very misleading presentation, refuting basically straw man arguments about benzene. What they did here was very clever, and that they took on what was essentially a non-issue from the start. Tried to make it look like all was well. Now, I sat out there wondering if they were going to try to convince you guys that somehow their natural gas operations soaked up that extra benzene out of the air to make us all safer. I like to believe that elected officials would be a little more discerning than to simply buy industry claptrap at face value. So I spent an entire weekend putting together some information for you, and I brought you some actual facts regarding benzene and natural gas.
Thank you, sir.
Now, some of these facts come from the industry's very own air quality study, and they're right out in the open for anyone who cares to actually read the document. Read the document instead of just the press releases that they come out with about the study. I hope you'll read this when you get time. There's a lot of information in there, and it's got more footnotes than a church organ. Let me just point out a couple of things about benzene for you. The problem is not that ambient levels of benzene in the area are going up. In fact, like he told you, They are going down. And we can thank the EPA for that because they've ordered a reformulation of gasoline several years back. Gasoline is about 1% benzene, and that number is scheduled to go down to 0.62%. So you will find high benzene levels right next to a gas pump. It's not going to hurt you there because you're only there for a couple of minutes. And, you know, the gas stations, of course, are required by law to have vapor recovery devices. The problem is that if you have a natural gas facility that's allowed by TCEQ to pollute up to 25 tons per year per facility of VOCs under a permit by rule, even if a small portion of that is benzene, it's a problem for those folks who live directly downwind from it. That's the true concern. By way of analogy, suppose you had a developer come in with plans to build an outdoor gun range right in the middle of a neighborhood. Now, suppose when residents expressed legitimate concern about stray bullets, the operator came in and quoted statistics to prove there's no danger from lead poisoning. It's not the lead poisoning that worries them, it's that sudden and unexpected stray dose of lead. So even a small chance of that happening, you guys should say no. Put another way, the industry saying that average benzene levels are still low, that's like, you know, sticking your head in the freezer and sticking your butt in the oven and saying on average you feel pretty normal. Now, the industry's very own recent air study that they lauded publicly as some kind of proof that all is well showed benzene levels exceeding amounts the state considers safe for long-term exposure. Let me say that again. Their own study, if you read the actual study and not the press release, it shows levels exceeding the safe levels. And here's the kicker. Now, the document I just gave you, it shows a map. It shows you how it's possible to have levels like that very close to a protected use in Louisville. It's because of the way our ordinance setbacks relate to the wellhead versus that equipment that goes with it. Things like dehydrators that are responsible for most of the VOC emissions. Now again, think of that number, 25 tons per year, what they're allowed to spew out. Even if that number was only 5 tons per year, that's roughly the equivalent of walking out in your driveway each and every day of the week and pouring out 3.5 gallons of gasoline on the ground just to let it evaporate. Take a full propane tank, full 25-pound propane tank, open one up and just let it spew each and every day of the week. You wouldn't want to live next to that. Now, VOCs do contribute to ambient air problems. They didn't talk about VOCs because they knew they couldn't win that one. Our EPA administrator thinks the emissions from gas facilities in North Texas roughly equal the amount of VOCs from all of our cars and trucks. These VOCs are converted to ground-level ozone, and that ozone causes real health problems for our citizens and vulnerable populations. Now, that ozone has the DFW area in noncompliance today to 1997 standards. 13 years we're not in compliance with 1997 standards. The industry can do better. The technology exists, and I will tell you they do use it in places where they are made to. That includes Williams, and that includes our neighbor next door. Now, a couple of weeks ago, 3 of you voted not to continue a temporary suspension of permitting. The direct and predictable consequence of that is that Williams and Chesapeake have accelerated the permitting process on a total of 23 wells past 2 weeks. Throw in a centralized wastewater collection facility and all the pipelines for good measure, and I hope you'll remember what Flower Mound just got through doing because of a wastewater facility. They know that Louisville is behind on the game and keeping up with best practice regulations. They know that other cities have had to learn the hard way. They would like to take advantage of that. So your city staff will likely soon be stuck dealing with 23 pending applications. I'm here tonight to ask you to be serious about your duty to protect the health and safety of our citizens, which is the #1 priority of any good government. When your staff comes back to you soon with recommendations for improving our ordinance, please understand the point is not to just be arbitrary or to stick it to the gas companies. A lot of people, myself included, we're going to make a little money off this deal. We hope that happens, okay? But what we don't want to do is get in a rush to capitulate to the gas companies just because of ideological or political reasons. Let's be smart about it, and let's not jeopardize citizens who live near those facilities. I just pray again this council will find the wisdom and courage to do the right thing here and hold these companies to high standards so that we can protect our property, our citizens, and our local environment. I ask you to read about some of the things that have actually happened here in the Barnett Shale and consider how you would feel about that happening next door to your house. You can dismiss this as fear tactics if you want, but I just call it being prepared. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests. For a citizen to request removal of an item, a speaker card must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. I do not have any cards filled out, and no council member has to have anything removed. Councilman Thornhill?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Thornhill to approve the consent agenda, second by Councilman Grena. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is a regular hearing, is consideration of a variance to Louisville City Code, Section 6-71, engineering site plan expiration timeframes regarding a 24-month extension for Staybridge Suites, a hotel development to be located at 788 East Vista Ridge Mall Drive, as requested by Sam Hamra, the property owner. The general development ordinance requires that construction must be underway within 180 days from the date of formal engineering site plan approval. The engineering site plan for Staybridge Suites was formally approved on February 16, 2010, upon receipt of final copies. In accordance with City Code, the engineering site plan is scheduled to expire on August 16, 2010. A request has been submitted for a 24-month extension to allow the property owner time to secure financing and conduct pre-construction meetings with the general contractor, architect, and the city. Recommendation of staff is that the council consider the 24-month extension as set forth in the caption above. I do have a card here by Mr. Gene Smith, says he's supported this. He's with Staybridge Suite, and he's available for questions. Did you want to speak also, sir?
I just have any questions that you might have regarding this. I represent the owner. I also manage the Holiday Inn Express, which is part of the same system that I've worked for the last 7 years here in Louisville. We just are basing our 24-month variance request based on information we've received from the hotel industry as well, but we will look at anything that's available.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone have any further questions related to this?
I have no questions for the applicant.
Okay.
Councilman Durham?
I don't have any questions this time.
Councilman Grena?
Is it comparable to the Holiday Inn Express?
It's actually a step above. The Staybridge Suites won the J.D. Power and Associates Award in 2009 for the highest-end extended stay hotel. If you probably are all familiar with Homewood Suites by Hilton, we actually are a step above them.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Okay.
Councilman Watts?
What's the holdup? Why do you think you need 24?
The financing is the issue. We originally were going to build a 121-unit project, and we started with that and had the financing in place for that. Of course, the recession and so forth hit. We went back and restudied, had another feasibility and market study done. Between IHG, which is the parent company, Intercontinental Hotels Group, and ourselves, we decided to downsize the hotel to an 86-unit hotel. This was done almost a year later. Architecture was redone, submitted to the city, and then when we went back to the bank for financing, the market had totally changed, so they pulled that financing and was not at the point of offering any financing that was considerable for our company to be able to build the hotel. Right now, PKF Industries and PricewaterhouseCoopers, which are the two largest companies that analyze the hotel industry, show that The fourth quarter of 2010 is when things will start returning to pre-recession levels. 2011 is the year that it will supposedly pick back up, and they're hoping that mid-2011 will be when banks start releasing some of the funds that are more feasible for financing reasons for a hotel.
So you don't have financing in place now?
No, that is our current issue. We do own the land. Everything is done. The architect is hired. All we need is the to finish up.
That's all.
I'm just not comfortable with another 2-year extension on this. I'm not saying that the project may not take 2 years to get developed, but I just hate to give it a carte blanche 2-year free extension on it.
I understand.
If it's up to council what y'all would like to do, but I'd like to see us narrow that down to some point instead of just putting it out there for another 2 years with it being, not having to worry about any kind of changes or anything that might come about in both their industry and in the city planning for that area over the next 2 years.
Well, you said you were predicting mid-next year.
Yeah, between PKF and PricewaterhouseCoopers, they're saying that hopefully by mid-next year, the banks will start releasing the proper funding to where they put things back at a 70-30 loan ratio. Right now, they're wanting 40-60, which is like doing it like a gamble pretty much in building that kind of structure. So, obviously our owner is the one who requested the 24-month variance because he likes to not have to go back to do anything again. But as long as I've worked in this city and been a resident, I feel like I would have, if I had written this, it would have been a 1-year variance request, just for the fact that I feel it's a little bit more fair. But being an attorney, he likes to do everything in long term and wrap it up so he doesn't have to go back and do any more paperwork.
Yeah, that's how it is with attorneys. That's why I was going to suggest 12 months, because that would be about mid-next year when you seem to think you have a better shot at being ready.
And at that point, if there's still an issue, we can revisit the situation at that point.
Okay, any other comments or motion, council?
If we went 12 months, would it cost money for him to come back and reapply?
Technically, it'd be considered a second variance. You could waive that in advance, I suppose.
He could ask that to be waived at the time
he could ask back. Time, yeah. Either way.
I'm kind of with you, Mayor, as far as a lot can happen in a 2-year period. I'm more comfortable with I'm okay with a 6-month extension, and at that time, you're more than welcome to come in and ask again for another extension if it doesn't come through, or a waiver of the fees.
I don't believe the fees are a huge concern to our company. It's just we have a lot of time and money invested in this, and this hotel has to build, whether it's built here or somewhere else, because we have a franchise agreement that if we tried to walk away from would be massive liquidated damages through the franchisor. So, we've been committed. We built the original Holiday Inn Express in 2001. I've been with the hotel for this company going almost 8 years in December, and this is going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
I guess that brings, from what you just said, brings a question in my mind now. We passed an ordinance since you received this permit, or since it was approved, this engineering site plan was approved back in February of this year, 2010. Since then, there's been an ordinance passed which would require you to do additional things to build that hotel. So I guess my question is saying if something happened and you didn't get this, then you're required to upgrade that hotel even further. But I thought I just heard you saying that you still have to build the hotel.
Well, under the franchise agreement, the hotel is, according to Intercontinental Hotel Groups, will be built in Louisville. Many times issues happen like this with certain city issues and codes, and we had one of the other franchises that I know very well did a project in Kansas City, Missouri, but due to government land that they were building next to, they couldn't build the hotel so high. So they actually walked away from that and transferred it to another location to be able to build somewhere else. But to build somewhere else is really not an option that we want. We want to be able to have these two hotels face-to-face and manage them and own them here in Louisville.
I just want to get that clarified.
No, I understand that, and that's part of the reason I've spoken to Mr. Hammer and said this is very important that this gets on, that we discuss this with the city, because I was aware, and I was in favor of the code compliance changes for the new hotels. By asking for this waiver, it continues to allow our grandfathering to be there so that we can build this hotel, fine hotel.
Okay. Entertain a motion?
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to deny the request for the 24-month and make a motion to approve a 6-month.
A motion by Councilman Tierney to deny the existing request for 24 months and to approve it for a 6-month extension. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Watts. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And when you do come back, if you heard Councilman Tierney also say, if you want, you can apply to ask the waiver, the variance fee to be waived up the next time, and we'll look at it. Not saying it would be, but then that way it would be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Item number 7 is consideration of a variance to Louisville City Code, Section 6-54, when an engineering site plan is required for the proposed Smile Magic Dentistry to be located at 1111 South Stemmons Freeway, as required by Bill Davidson, First Commercial Realty, the property owner. Smile Magic Dentistry is proposing to be remodeled to the existing building, which is platted as a separate plat. The lot was originally built as Chili's Restaurant in 1985. To date, the building has been vacant for numerous years. The city code requires properties that are vacant for a period of 12 months or more to have a current engineering site plan on file when future development occurs. However, staff mistakenly issued building permits without the site plan, thus construction has already commenced. Due to the fact that this building is currently shown to be in TxDOT's right-of-way on I-35 plans, staff recommends approval of this variance. Council, the recommendation of staff to council is to approve the variance as set forth in the caption. City Manager, if you would go over that a little bit about the TxDOT right-of-way plans and so on and so forth to take this property.
Well, the right-of-way map has not been developed at this point in time. They have a schematic version of the right-of-way map that does show a line going pretty close to the building, if not touching the building. I'm not sure exactly where it. Bill can probably tell you a little bit more about exactly where that is, but it certainly takes quite a bit of the frontage of the property along I-35. That's not necessarily a certainty that it'll occur in that fashion. It's always subject to final development of plans and any adjustments to those plans that are deemed appropriate by TxDOT, and that process probably won't be starting for some time, depending on the availability of financing. So the bottom line is that the right-of-way take is substantial at that location if they do proceed with advancing the right-of-way, and would take basically the decel lane and the improvements of the landscaping strip if you were to require them to install them. So we don't think it's appropriate in this case.
And the property owner, Mr. Davidson, First Commercial Realty, they are aware of this, and they have the same exactly site plans and everything.
I believe he is.
We have.
Yeah.
Is he? Oh, there he is. I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't see you out there. Did you want to speak on any of this, Bill, or you just here to answer any questions if we have them? Okay. Okay. Councilman Durham?
There's no further discussion. I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Durham to approve, a second by Councilman Tierney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8 is a second reading, consideration of an ordinance amending ordinance number 2747-12-2001, eliminating term limits for TERS number 1 board members. At the July 19, 2010 City Council meeting, the Council approved the subject ordinance. However, due to the lack of a 4/5 vote by the Council to adopt the ordinance on an emergency basis, the ordinance has to be read on 3 separate days to meet the city charter requirements. This will be the second reading. Councilor?
Okay, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, amending ordinance number 2747-12-2001 by removing term limits, providing for a repealer, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. There's no action required.
Okay, we're down to reports. Nika? Bob? Chief? Everything right? Melinda? Chief? Everything going good? Excuse me, Carol?
We're still in more water now, and our lake is dropping a little bit, even though the newscasters are starting to pick it up. We're just about to put down.
Good. Donna? Brenda? Ms. Ferris? Mr. Backus? Councilman Durham?
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilman Grana?
No, sir.
Councilman Watts?
Thank you.
Mr. City Manager? Councilman Thornhill?
I'll just remind everybody, I believe Saturday is the budget workshop, and the budget workshop is not at City Hall. It's at the annex, so if anybody wants to attend, we welcome you, and make sure you get to the right place. Thank you. That's it.
Councilman Tierney?
No, sir.
Counselor? Julie? I did have something up there, and Adam, I messed it up. He's going to back up for me here. I was going to do it during Visitor Citizens Forum, and I didn't have my card laid out here, so I forgot it. But here it is here, so we'll put it up now. A citizen, a proud new parent citizens, sent me a very nice card and a little note telling me that they thought I would like to know that our population of Louisville has gone up by 1. And this is their lovely, beautiful new child, Micah. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. Being Mary, you get some really nice things from some nice citizens. Okay, in accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Section 551.071, anticipated litigation regarding CoServe Electric, Section 551.072, property acquisition, Section 551.074, appointment of city attorney, and Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. Will now convene into executive session.
You're going to count on me to protect you.
I don't have it in here.
Be afraid.
He already left?
No, we didn't have one tonight.
They're kind of short out there on the streets anyway. Are they? Yes, they are. No, just, you got almost 100,000 people, only like
just
7 on the street at a time.
Yeah. Okay. We do have a quorum. I'll call the council back to order for regular session. Is there any action be taken, council?
Motion to approve the contract to name Elizabeth Plaster as the city attorney.
Second.
And authorize the
mayor to execute the contract.
Okay. Have a motion by Councilman Watts and a second by Councilman Marina. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Liz, congratulations. Welcome aboard, man. We look forward to working with you over many years, and it's going to be different looking at you versus Ron. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Councilman Tierney, second by Councilman Durham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.